Vince McMahon is trying to run WWE into the ground. And I know a lot of people say that, but after hearing news like today, you kind of have to start to fucking believe it. To put into context of how bad the situation is, ever since Luke Harper died, which WWE, they gave him a fucking graphic and that was it for that. Listen, WWE does not care about their wrestlers. They do not care about their fans. I don't know what they care about. I don't know what Vince McMahon cares about anymore. During an interview yesterday, Vince McMahon was asked if he viewed AEW as a threat, and was also asked about all the wrestlers who've been either quitting or getting fired and going to AEW. And you know what Vince's response was? He said, "Oh, do you want more? You want more wrestlers?" And then one day later, he fires The Fiend, who has been suffering from mental trauma due to the death of his best friend, Luke Harper. And apparently he's been getting bullied online too by fans, which is a whole nother case of worms and a whole nother story. Either way, Bray Wyatt is in a horrible state right now. He's in a horrible mental state, and WWE fires him over budget concerns. Apparently, The Fiend was supposed to come back in August, which, if you look at a calendar, is like 2 fucking days away. What is going on with Vince? What is going on with WWE? It's funny because it's like you complain about it, and it's like you complain about something as trivial as WWE. It's like, why are you complaining about it? How can you not complain about it when they do such stupid shit? It just doesn't make any sense. Makes no sense. It's like they don't make sense from a viewing standpoint. Watching it as a fan, like watching it as a TV show, it doesn't make sense from a viewing standpoint. And then IRL in real life, it doesn't make sense from like a business standpoint. Why you're firing all your wrestlers, and then they're gonna go to AEW, which has 2 shows now. 2 shows. One of their new shows, Rampage, is about to debut CM Punk, who's been gone for 8 years. Another wrestler, by the way, that WWE treated like garbage. Speaking of garbage, they literally threw Mickie James' belongings or personal belongings in the garbage and gave it to her. What is WWE doing? Not to mention they're going back to Saudi Arabia. Saudi Arabia, a country that took their wrestlers hostage on a plane. Like, how, if it wasn't for wrestling being dead in 2021, I'm pretty sure several news outlets would be having something to say about everything that WWE does. But boy, oh boy, do they love to tout all of their, good doings, all their philanthropy, all their, our Be a Star program and all this. Like, WWE is the antichrist of wrestling as far as I'm concerned. They're a garbage company. They took The Fiend's gimmick. Bray Wyatt's been getting shit on by fans on Twitter for having bad matches and all this. And, I feel like cyberbullying is like a subject where it's like, I just wish more wrestlers were strong to just ignore the fans. Especially under this incident. I just wish, because mental health is nothing to nothing to play with at all. So it's like, if something was to happen to Bray Wyatt over stupid fans, saying that his matches were bad, listen, it's not his fault. It's Vince McMahon's fault. Vince McMahon took The Fiend's gimmick and gave it to Alexa Bliss, which also makes no sense, because Alexa Bliss was already a good wrestler. And then you change her gimmick into one where she's less of a wrestler. You had what? You had Liv Morgan, who isn't known to be like the best wrestler. Everyone thought she was going to get the Sister Abigail gimmick, which would make sense because you'd be creating a new star. You already have a star in Alexa Bliss. Why are you going to give her the Fiend's gimmick? It makes no sense. And then the Fiend disappears, and then now what? Are they going to run this Alexa Bliss gimmick into the ground? By the way, ever since Alexa Bliss showed up, she pretty much ruined the Fiend's gimmick anyway. It was all good until she showed up, because at least the Fiend's Mr. Rogers-like promos backstage, all that, it had at least a little bit of subtlety to it. At least a little bit. Once Alexa Bliss got there, all subtlety was thrown out the window. She might as well have been levitating chairs. It's just so stupid. It has a doll named Lily. The doll's not even scary. It just looks like a stupid doll. By the way, The Fiend had dolls that were actually way better and funnier and scarier and all that. Just another idea that they stole and gave to Alexa Bliss. It just makes no sense. No sense. If you're a fan, you should be enraged by this. You should be pissed about this. You should not even stand for it. But what are fans going to do? They're going to watch Raw. They're going to keep watching this awful product. It's just so bad. Like, what's WWE going to do next? What are they going to do next? What could they possibly do at this point? They've basically dug their own grave at this point. The WWE fired a man who was having mental health problems, who was supposed to come back in like a week probably in August. But they had to fire this mentally depressed man who came up with one of the best gimmicks in the last 10 years at least. Until WWE had to have their 60-year-old senile fossil of a wrestler, Goldberg, completely squash it in... I can't remember if that was in Saudi Arabia or Australia, so I can't say. If that was in Saudi Arabia, my God, dude, it's so awful. I can't believe it. Like, what are they going to do next? Are they going to fire John Cena? Is that what you want to do, Vince? You just want to dig your grave even further? You want to fire John Cena? Why don't they just... I mean, obviously, they just want to be a movie company, so a movie company doesn't need wrestlers anyway, so why don't you just let everyone go? Just let AEW be the wrestling company from now on. All WWE does is they ruin every time a wrestler has momentum, WWE ruins them. They did the same with Braun Strowman. Whether you like or hate Braun Strowman, it's funny too, you have to think, if you are somebody that hates Braun Strowman, you have to think, why do you hate him? Is it because WWE booked him poorly? Yeah. Because this man was like lifting ambulances and doing all this crazy stuff. He was having a fun feud with Roman. But no, WWE, they had to ruin him just like they ruined everybody else. Just like they ruined Keith Lee. Just like they've already ruined Killer Kross in one day. And whether you like or hate Killer Kross, you should at least root for him to succeed. Because you should want wrestlers to succeed. Because if they don't, then what's the point in even watching? Like, we're never going to have another big boom period in wrestling. We're never going to have an Attitude Era Part 2 or Ruthless Aggression Part 2 or even a like Golden Era. We're never going to have anything. Because anytime a wrestler gets momentum, Vince just squashes it for no reason. Why? So you can keep pushing, like, who? Who do you have to push? Roman? Is that it? Is that all you want is Roman Reigns? I mean, WWE doesn't even create stars anymore. All they do is take wrestlers from the indies and then here you go, here's your indie wrestler, and then they wonder why wrestling is dying because WWE doesn't make new stars. They don't do anything like they used to. We are never gonna have a Randy Orton, Brock Lesnar, John Cena, OVW style, you know, like here's these great wrestlers. Like, no, it's just, oh well, let's pull this guy in, and everything that was great about them doesn't work in the main wrestling company. It doesn't always work. You can't go to Pro Wrestling Guerrilla and be like, oh, look at the Young Bucks, like, oh, that's so good, and then throw it on like a major wrestling company. It just doesn't work. It doesn't always work. Sometimes it works, but and maybe the Young Bucks is a bad example of that, but I'm just saying, like, what works in a small indie promotion doesn't always work in a major one, and that's what WWE's trying to rely on. They're trying to rely on all these small companies to be their developmental, so they don't have to pay for a developmental, even though they already have one in NXT. Which might as well be a developmental, because Vince doesn't view it as a real company like Triple H wants it to. They gave Finn Balor's world title match against Roman Reigns to John Cena last night. So are we going to bury Finn Balor now? They just bury everybody. If they don't care enough to, like, showcase their wrestlers, and how am I supposed to care about even watching this awful show? It's an abysmal show. So that's the news of the day. Every day is something else. The Fiend, Bray Wyatt's been fired by WWE because they just had to save money. They had to save money by firing one of their best wrestlers because, oh God, it's not like they're going back to Saudi Arabia to get that blood money. Everybody knows WWE is a company that's hard off of money, so they got to fire their best wrestlers. It's not like they have like 500 wrestlers that they don't use. Let's just fire like the most popular one. I'm sure that's not going to stir social media into a frenzy. I swear, Vince McMahon's making it his mission to kill this company before he dies. I swear that's what he's doing. He is the most selfish person in the entire world. If it wasn't for Vince McMahon Sr., Vince wouldn't even have a company. But instead of building up the company to pass the torch to anyone else, he just wants to kill it. So that's it. That's the news roundup. Thanks for watching the video. If you're a Bray Wyatt fan or a Fiend fan, I don't know how you should feel about WWE at this point. That's all I'm going to say. I know that they've done some stupid stuff in the past. They just keep doing stupid stuff. And it just gets worse and worse. Where is WWE going to be in 10 years from now? How bad is it going to get before everyone stops watching? It's not like anyone has an alternative. Oh, wait. Yeah, they do. We have AEW now. We don't have to watch this anymore. So just stop. Just stop watching it. But this has been the daily video about The Fiend. Another wrestler that WWE has ruined. So thanks for watching. Don't forget to like and subscribe and all that.